Hello, this is Markus Römer speaking. Today we talk about something else. We talk about Annex 11, which should have been published about 2 or 3 months ago. Today it's the 5th of July. I was expecting the new draft version of Annex 11, GMP Computerized Systems, in February, March, April this year, and it still has not come up. It feels a little bit uncomfortable because there are some rumors or even some inspectors from European countries going to events and they say something which is not officially somewhere noted or mentioned. And what is said is that there will be a new revision of Annex 11. That's for sure. That was the plan. And there will be a new Annex 22 for artificial intelligence. So we have Annex 11 for computerized systems. And the idea is to publish a dedicated annex for artificial intelligence only. Logically, an artificial intelligence is a computerized system. Anything else, it's not working with wood and stones. It will be a computerized systems which contains hardware and software and which will serve functions which might be used in a GMP activity. So you can already hear I'm not really amused that we start to create a different Annex 22. And beside of that, I guess, and that's the problem, if there are rumors and no official statements placed by official agencies, that this current delay is caused on this basically weird idea. So going back how it should be, and I'm a European, and I believe in government and things like this. So yes, the European Medicines Agency does usually provide a 3-year work plan for the so-called IWG, inspector working groups. And here is one, and this is also interesting, saying from January 2025. So it's not so old. Basically, it's from starting this year. And yes, they describe what they want to do in the next 3 years, especially on collaborations, but also to say, yes, we will revise the Annex 11 from the year 2011. We will work closely with the PICS on that. But again, you find here Annex 11, wonderful, but there's no Annex 22. For sure. I don't know why, but I would expect if somebody has a new idea, just to properly plan it. If you do that in projects that you don't plan it properly, then usually you get into trouble regarding resources and so on. So I have no understanding why we have an inspector working plan and this is not followed basically. And on risk is the target date. And again, Annex 11 is also in close collaboration working with Chapter 4 documentation. So that was already in 2011 the case. The PICS is doing that similar. I just opened the annual report, but they also define what they want to do and which members will join and so on. I highlighted it here. Wait a second. So yes, Annex 11, PICS is represented in the EMA Inspector Working Group, Drafting Group on the revision of Chapter 4 and Annex 11 of the EU PICS GMP Guide by experts from Australia and so on. A concept paper on the revision of Annex 11 was jointly issued by EMA and PICS, yes, on 16th November 2022. So that was the concept paper. The concept paper here was a little bit weird, by the way, but there's a proposed timeline on that, and we are already in delay of this timeline. Currently, I also see events and trainings which are announced, which want to talk about the Annex 11 requirements, but again, these are delayed. And what is said is, again, that there will be also a new Annex 22. I had the honor to comment that with a QP, Dr. Bernd Renger, and that is what we sent on the concept paper. So the current concept paper contains aspects for AI and so on, which should be covered by Annex 11. However, such systems are also computerized systems per definition. There should not be a need for the inspector working group to invent new rules or guidelines dedicated to such systems. And this is exactly what they have done. I can't understand this. And beside of that, that's not really up to date. It's from 2022. Currently, the EU directive on machinery regulation that was put from a directive to a regulation currently, which is also containing AI references. And we have the AI Act in Europe in the meantime, which is in operation since August last year. And instead of inventing here a new Annex 22, again, it's a computerized system. And we have the machinery regulation also updated and the AI regulation. I don't know what we should write into an Annex 22. I would have put it into the Annex 11, referring to the existing regulations and maybe how to apply them in the context of GMP activities. Anyhow, this is the AI regulation 2024-689. So this is also in there and mapped properly. And it's possible to map the current EU GMP Annex 11 requirements into the AI regulation. So again, maybe we need to have here 22. What I also heard is that the entire chapters and sections of Annex 11 of the new one will be revised, which is also a very stupid idea. Basically, I was told that it is a little bit not copy and pasted, but very close to the guideline on computerized systems and electronic data in clinical trials. So from the inspector working group from GCP. Basically, this guideline, I really like it. And you know, it contains a lot of also basically examples on 52 pages for GCP, and there's the GCP clinical trial regulation, and below of that there are these guidelines. These guidelines are non-binding recommendations or just guidelines, but they are non-binding. So within an inspection, you could refer to the guidelines, but basically you verify compliance to the clinical trial regulation or ICH E6, which is also coming up in a new revision in 18 days from today on. So that makes sense. So what makes no sense, because the GMP world does have another structure. We have the Eudralex Volume 4. For example, the Swiss are referring to that when it comes to GMP. PICS is 99% basically identical with the GMP Eudralex Volume 4 guidelines. So, and an inspector, a GMP inspector, is able to use this kind of annexes, and there are these 9 chapters, to make observations related to these annexes. The style, the wording, the language of Annex 11 in the current one, like here, is different to a guideline in GCP. Annex 11 in this context, you could say it's legally binding. Basically, it's not, but you can refer it because you must comply with the GMP regulations, and the Annex is one of them. That's the difference. What I also heard, again, we are in the land of rumors and I don't know, fairy tales, that the section numbering here was changed. I think that's totally anti-European. I don't know how many GMP regulated business we have in Europe, 5,000, 15,000, I don't know. And each and single company does have a site master file and SOPs, and will refer to the current section numbering, 1, 2, 3, 4, and so on. You could also do additional sections like 4.9, for example, or the last one is 17. You could do a section number 18, artificial intelligence, refer to the AI Act, the AI regulation, and the machinery regulation of the European Union, and this is what should be done to be in compliance also with GMP, for example. But this does not happen here. Yeah, I heard that the section numbering will be changed. I don't know how anyone can have an idea to change that. So, and to create an Annex 22. So, again, I say that's anti-European. The European Parliament, and I think that's a good idea, is following a rule, one in, one out approach. And I see there's no reason, no logical reason, why we should add for artificial intelligence an Annex 22. Maybe it's just only a saying, or I don't know. There's no official message in that. That's also not good for the industry. If there's a too long time period where people suggest something or something like this, you also find already some suppliers who want to sell some kind of solutions or services. I don't think that is serious, but just the application, one in and one out, and say Annex 22. And AI is a computerized system. In the moment we have this traditional, developed, programmed, based on logical if then else source coding. This is what we could call traditional software development. And we have an AI. Yes, it's working in a different way. There's machine learning, there are different networks behind of that in different layers and so on. But at the end of the day, it's a computerized system. And why to create an Annex 22? It's not mentioned in the 3-year working plan. It's not following the kind of rule of the European Parliament, one in and one out. It creates a massive delay. We have additional regulations for AI. There are also harmonized regulation given, like machine regulation, and the machine regulation does have a separate chapter for pharmaceutical machines, and basically an AI is a machine, or we would call it computerized system. So this is very, very bizarre. Most of us will go on holiday in July or in August. And what will happen if we get Annex 11 and this very strange Annex 22? Whatever will be written in there, which might be also not in compliance with other regulations, there's also a risk of that. So I do not like the approach what is happening in the moment. And I think it's time to talk about that. If you feel also irritated that you get or read something in LinkedIn or wherever, and I have also seen, if you Google for that, the smart search term in Google is already adding EU GMP Annex 22, then artificial intelligence. If Google knows better, then the open communication by the agency, I don't know, I don't want to live in such a structure. That's very, very bizarre. And I think it's against any democratic values. I don't share that. We should know what we are talking about. I don't know if we would decide something like that to create a separate Annex 22. Um, who have decided that? Was that the majority? Do we profit from that if we change structures, chapters, sections, and so on? Just to be closer to something that was written already by someone in the life before. I don't think that this is a good idea. I'm looking forward that we get Annex 11 and Annex 22 for commenting. I have seen also on the concept paper that I was commenting that also here the comments were totally ignored. I don't think that this is a good approach, and it shows that something is going wrong, massively going wrong in this inspector working group. And I don't know how this is harmonized with Chapter 4 documentation. I have no clue. And I'm wondering how PICS wants to handle that with the Annex 22, even saying maybe there are other PICS members which are not part of the EMA, if they also want to refer to the EU regulation, especially the US FDA. This is very strange. And I think it was time to say something about that. I do not feel very well with that. I was forced to do that after a time period, but I don't like to have the rest of this year any kind of events and marketing messages like Annex 22 and so on. And I have no input from the agency itself, what is happening. I think it's mismanaged. It's misunderstood what is happening there. And I would like an agency to follow their 3 years working plan. If there's something coming up, which is decided, then it might be that they could announce that and not do that in the dark somewhere and then to say, surprise, surprise, you get everything later, but you get the regulations doubled or something like this. Again, one in and one out. I don't see that approach followed in this context. So let's see what will happen in the second half of this year if we get Annex 11 and Annex 22. People who agree with me should give me a like, please, and subscribe to the channel. We will find a way how to comment on that. If this will come like we think in the moment, again, all rumors, all sayings, in between, some inspectors talk more, some less. I'm really wondering about that. It's putting everyone in an uncomfortable situation. And I think with the new Annex 11, Annex 22, the pharmaceutical industry is already struggling in Europe. And if we are not able to write something like this, which is an enabler, hopefully not a disabler, then we should think about that, what we are doing here. Then we will need to correct that because all the signs that I see in the moment, anyone who is watching that, the signs are not good for the industry and not for the patients, I guess. And maybe if we create additional efforts for companies or for other agencies also within the PICS, I would not say that this is a clever and smart approach that we are following. So maybe I'm totally wrong and everything which is written in different sources is also maybe wrong. Then it's even better. Okay, have a great weekend and we will see what will happen. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.